we are here. I am Robert Hilton, and we are today speaking with what we all consider to be New Jersey's foundation of martial arts, the founder of the Turtle System, and one of the most dynamic martial artists. A lot of people, if you come through New Jersey, you've had to find your way through this system or through this man, his experiences, his tutelage, and he's had his hand in a bunch of different things. But I want to first introduce everybody to Dr. Bose, the founder of the Turtle System, and we have his students here with us today. So we're gonna try to talk to everybody, get everybody on the line, but we first want to introduce Dr. Bose. Dr. Bose, how you doing today, sir?
Brother, I'm blessed. Thank God. I'm here, still here. And any day above ground is a good day.
Yes, sir. We have your students on the line. I know that one of the first things we did not want to touch on it, and I just want to make it clear so that no one else is looking for this information, but due to legal reasons, we're not going to touch on a lot of the anything to deal with the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles aspect of it, but we will deal with other forms of your system, your style, and the gentleman that came through your system. So I'm going to allow you guys to introduce yourselves. We see that Brother Jesse looked like he was spraying something over there in the corner, but Brother Jesse is on the line. And we have the Norman brothers, Kisan, Trent Norman, and Brother Graham. Looks like his phone is doing something weird over there. But he's here. I'll allow you guys to introduce yourselves, and then we'll get into the topics.
My name is Jesse Harris, and I'm one of the black belts from the Turtle System, and one of the sons of Dr. Bose.
Can't hear you, brother.
Talking, but we can't hear him.
Brother Kason, you need your sound on, brother.
My sound is not on. Let's see what's going on here.
We got Kason. Kason, we can't hear you. Maybe Trent should try to unmute himself. So they're all in the same room, so we're trying to make sure that we don't get any bad feedback.
Okay.
What else do we have here? Hold on 1 second. Let's try to get looks like Dr. Bose's son is on the line too, right?
Can you hear me, Mr. Bose? We can't hear you, brother.
Technology.
Technical difficulties, huh?
Yes. All right, there goes Trent. So we should be able to hear Trent right now.
Okay, my name is Trent Norman. One of the black
Somebody
belts.
in your background got to turn down their speaker. All right, go ahead.
Yeah, Trent Norman, one of the black belts from the Turtle System.
Got you. All right, we got Brother Jesse over here painting.
I gotta keep busy.
All right, so we know with the Turtle System, I'll speak from what we'll call an outsider standpoint. You guys have with the Turtle System almost dinosaur or mystic lineage here in New Jersey, where people talk about you guys as if almost like it never existed, right? Jesse was the guy that would just knock people out. You had the Norman brothers, you had all these athletic and just great people that came out of your system. So Dr. Bose, my first question is going to be for you. What motivated you to start this system, this style? And how did you get all of these kids from urban areas and bring out the best in them in the way that you did?
Well, fundamentally, brother, I had a vision. I started a process when I was in college. It was a club martial arts process. And I dubbed it Turtle Tactics. I was up in Boston, and a lot of people took to it. I'm 17, 18 years old in college, and people were enthused or confused at some of the things that I did. I had a fight, and I was in the wrong. I have to admit that. But the way that I fought, people asked me what was I doing, and they said, "You look like a turtle." From that, I began that process, and we're talking 60 years ago, 61 years ago. From that, when I came home and I continued to go to school, I decided to teach my children, which my son was about 3 years old, Ed the third. Him and his sister, Troy and Lisa, which most of you know as the Mom and Granny Grunt. They were the first dojo. Then I met Master Godfrey. Well, he was Sensei Godfrey at the time. And we did a demonstration. He liked what we did. And he asked me if I would join his process. And I ultimately found out that he was under Bill Wilson. From that time, I put him off for about 2 or 3 years. It's about 1971 when he and I got together. After about changed the name Turtle Tactics to Ninja Turtle. And I had his blessing to do so because he was a higher rank than myself at that time.
Okay.
So we joined New Jersey School of Martial Arts. And ultimately, he lost that dojo. And by that time, I had a storefront at 849 South Orange Avenue. We were known as Ninja Karate, Ninja Ryu Karate. I'm sorry, Ninja Turtle Karate at that time. And since he lost the school, I invited him in. I always loved Master Godfrey because he loved kids. And that was my focus. I wanted to take them off the street. So the dream was to keep young people off the street, give them a sense of direction, point them towards God, point them towards family, point them towards each other as brothers and sisters. That was the vision. And the rest is history. They went on to do some wonderful things as human beings, not as martial artists, but as human beings. And that was the major thing in my heart, in my soul, in my spirit. And today it's uplifting to me. So that's a microcosm of what we did.
How many years can you actually say that you've been in martial arts? Starting from the day that you first put on a uniform, a white belt.
I started not as a white belt. I just started as a participant. My father was my first teacher, 1949. And I was coming off of a bout with poliomyelitis. Polio is a debilitating disease that destroys nerves and muscles. I was paralyzed from the neck down. So for about 2 years, I was under hospitalization, therapy, doctors, nurses, et cetera, et cetera. My father learned his martial arts in the 19-teens as a young kid with a stereotypical Asian who owned at that time, they called it a laundromat. They didn't have machines. They hand washed everything. But he liked my father. Just to give you an idea about my father, he graduated high school at 13. He had a college degree at 16. He had his master's at 20. He's ahead of his time. So he taught me to strengthen both body and mind through the martial arts. He taught me his form of, it was jujitsu really. It was not karate. It was not some of these newer arts, Taekwondo, etc., to strengthen my body and my mind so that I could deal with life challenges. Through that training, he also taught me boxing because he boxed as well. So through that, I was able to conquer and defeat polio. Although one leg is smaller than the other, although one leg is shorter than the other, I developed and I played football. I played baseball, semi-pro, martial arts, as you know. So going back to 1949 is when I started, Mr. Hilton.
1949.
49, yes.
Sheesh, I wasn't even a thought in 1949. Your father being your first instructor, who do you credit for you being where you are now, as far as being the martial artist that you became?
I'm sorry, I didn't understand the question.
Who do you credit? I know you said that your father was one of your first instructors, but just like the Normans, Jesse Harris, Mr. Lewis, and a host of others have credited you for being their instructor. Who do you credit for being your instructor? Aside from your dad.
Beside my father. I went into a dojo in Newark, New Jersey. It was under William Ruman. When Mr. Ruman left, his top student, James Cheatham, took over. So I studied with him. When Mr. Cheatham was killed in an airplane accident, Alan Lee bought the school. I studied with him. I also studied with Fred Stahl, George Yoshida, and Peter Urban. I have degrees from them, in addition to Aaron Banks. I studied Japanese Goju under Aaron Banks and American Goju under Peter Urban, in addition to Fred Stahl, who was a jiu-jitsu practitioner. George Yoshida was a judo man. I went to the New York dojo in New York City and studied there as well. So my history is fundamentally under those people that I just named.
Now, a question for those of us who have, who I'll say are newer martial artists compared to you starting in the 40s. We grew up with books, encyclopedias. Now with the invention of the internet, people are able to train with others on YouTube and things of that nature. At that time when you were coming up, you had to actually travel to these dojos and these people. How did the reputation of these people get to Newark, New Jersey, Essex County, New Jersey, for you to know that you were making the right decision as far as an instructor?
Well, from a fundamental level, you knew because you were part of the martial art. If my father knew that I competed in tournaments, he would have broke my back. So I did it undercover. So it was through that venue that I was able to identify who I wanted to be with, study with, or be under. Judo was an art that it actually is not really, it's more of an art, a sport, than it is self-defense. For someone who doesn't know judo, you can handle yourself. But someone who has a jiu-jitsu background, a karate background, it's not as effective against those kinds of forms. However, George Yoshida was, at the time, one of the top judokas in the world. I didn't meet Peter Urban until the late 60s, I believe. Aaron Banks I knew prior to that. Oh, and I left out my very close and dear friend, Fred Baba Hamilton from Jamaica, Queens. I left him out. I should not, forgive me. I learned a lot of Shotokan from him. The Heians, for instance, the Shotokan katas,
Yes,
Basadai, those kinds of forms. But so that I don't get too far afield, you learn about these people because tournaments in those days were cryptic. They were clandestine. They were hidden. And only those who were in the circle knew where to go to compete. Matter of fact, I went out to Kansas to fight Jim Harrison. And that's the only tournament I lost in the 64 that I entered, 65 that I entered. We fought to a draw, and I broke his nose, but I'm not going to complain. They gave the verdict to him, and that was that.
So it's a crazy way to win, though, to know you walk away with a broken nose and tell yourself a winner.
Well, in those days, Mr. Hilton, kicking to the groin, striking the back, punching in the face, that wasn't accepted. You had to be able to block. If you couldn't, you were in trouble.
Got you. So, question: you guys came up in the era of martial arts where there was no hand pads, no shin pads. You guys had ace bandages, I believe, and that was the extent of your gear. And we're gonna get back to that, but I feel like I'm gonna cheat here a little bit because I have so many questions. In those days, it seems like history was written by those who survived, right? I've noticed, and I'll use Shaquille, for instance, Kevin Thompson. I recently interviewed him prior to his passing, and I noticed that whenever a martial artist passed, that people come out of the woodworks and then they make themselves almost like they were this great arch enemy of this person. I remember I used to beat him when I was this age and that age because the person is no longer around to kind of defend that anymore. These people weren't saying that when he was here, but it's like now that the person passed away, all of a sudden it's like I was the arch enemy of Chuck Norris, of Bruce Lee. I trained under this person because they're no longer there. How did you guys keep record of what was going on back then? Because from my understanding, you guys were living that martial arts lifestyle. People were kicking doors into dojos to check people to make sure that their martial arts was real, right?
Well, yeah, it's difficult to respond to that, brother. But yes, people tried to bully us initially. And I remember on a couple of occasions I had to invite someone in and demonstrate to them my knowledge base. And they went back to their teachers and indicated that you don't bother them, you leave them alone.
So Dr. Williams left with school clothes while people were still in it.
In agreement with you, brother. That has always been the case. And these gentlemen can articulate some stories where individuals have come up to them and told them that they were them. So I'm not going to touch that. I'm going to leave that for them, their door.
All right. So let me ask one of your prodigies. And while I know we have Trent on the line, I'm going to go to Jesse first, right? Because Jesse's name comes up a lot when they talk about the enforcers of the turtle system. And he was first known as an enforcer, but then there was another time where when they talked about Jesse, it was like Jesse was the matchmaker. So well before you got to Jesse would kind of assess the situation and say, well, you're not ready for a Jesse Harris, but you may need to go see Kason, you may need to go see Trent. And then if you made your way through them a little rock, then it was like, all right, maybe you had time to go to a Jesse. So let's find out from Jesse, how did you become the enforcer of the turtle system? Or are you technically the most senior student of the turtle system?
Absolutely not. So that concept applies to everyone. If someone came in the dojo and wanted to spar Trent, they would have to spar Jesse Harris, Mike Powell, Reginald Good. So it passed on to whomever walked in the dojo who wanted to fight one of us or spar one of us. So it wasn't just about me. It was about all of us is how we did that. So I think that I probably have the most set matches. I was ranked at Super Junior when I was 15 years old. So I think that that's probably one of the reasons why I think my name is probably more noted, because my ranks with Karate Illustrated. I was very young when I first got rated, but again, that was through Dr. Bowles, and also that was through Trent Norman, Kason
Now,
Norman.
let me ask you a question. And this is going to be a bit of a controversial question, and understand that there's no disrespect meant by it. And Dr. Bowles, I think between you and Mr. Harris, you guys can answer this. But as talented as Jesse was, and Jesse's name came up a lot with the likes of a Shaquille, he was just known as almost carrying New Jersey on his back at one particular point in time. Why didn't Jesse have the same opportunities as far as being able to be on a sponsored team, or his talent being taken further than just New Jersey?
Well, one of the reasons is so this is a funny story. So we turned kickboxing, and we turned professionally kickboxing. Right before that time, I think Shaquille had went away to college. When he came back, we were pretty much kind of leaving the karate circuit. So he came back we were pretty much done with that. I remember the one fight we had up in East Orange when he came back from being away in college. Someone took the cards and switched the cards around so him and I could be the next match. So when they did that, they came to me and said, Jess, we put you with Shaquille next. Because the talk has always been Jesse Harris, Shaquille. So I said, all right, it might have been Trent who did it. Trent or Kason, one of them might have done it. But
I'm gonna put my money on Kason, but we'll talk about that
without a doubt. Kason. So I beat him so fast. I beat him 3-0. Earl, his brother, called Master Bowles and said they'll pay me whatever I want to be in a set match with him. And Dr. Bowles said no. So I had to respect my instructor, and I didn't do it. But as far as the karate circuit go, my mom told me don't bring another trophy home. So to continue to do that and get the sponsorship and all that kind of stuff, we had already turned pro kickboxing. That wasn't even an interest of mine anymore at that particular point. I felt that we laid the pavement down of what we were capable of doing. We fought everyone who was somebody, from Billy Blanks to Speedy Wilson, Look Up, everybody, Earl Bennett. We fought them all.
Bowles, I'm gonna put you on pause for a second, and I'm gonna ask a couple of your other students. Here's from my generation, and this is what I looked at. We all remember Worlds Collide, which was the famous Eugene Floyd versus Shaquille fight. And hearing Jesse talk about them manipulating the cards because they always wanted to see Shaquille fight a Jesse. Can anybody explain to me why New Jersey was so focused on being against each other as opposed to combining? Because when I look at it, and this is just from me being a martial arts historian or just following you guys so much, having admiration for you guys, I just thought about what a great team it would have been to have a Jesse, a Shaquille, a Eugene Floyd, and all of you guys together out there on the circuit, as opposed to you guys being here in New Jersey fighting each other to see who was the best here, when there were so many other people that we saw you guys dominate on the circuit or when you went out. Why wasn't it more about unity as opposed to everybody trying to separate?
You want me to
my
respond?
personal, I can respond to that, Dr. Bowles.
Go ahead, brother.
My personal feelings is with that is if you look back in the history of all of us, we all kind of sprung off each other. Like I trained at the KA system. Trent was at the KA system. Andre was at the KA system. We went to Peanuts to say Peanut. So everyone trained with different people. I think once the era of the Shaquilles and the Jesse Harris and the Trent Normans and the Kason, etc., it wasn't so much it was against each other. It was just that it was built that way. It was built that way. Who was the best? And I think that's where it came from. And then some of these masters that had ran dojos, everybody wants to be the boss. Everybody wants to wear the captain hat. Very seldom you find someone like Master Bowles and Master Garfield got together that respected each other. Master Breaker, Ernie Temple. But you can't, if you look at the color of those people, they're not all the same. Dr. Bowles fights, they're not the only one,
So let me expound on my question. When I look at a Dr. Bowles, when I look at Grandmaster Godfrey and things of that nature, when I look at a Shaquille or a Jesse Harris, right? I also look at the Joe Lewises of the world, right? I look at Bill Superfoot Wallaces of the world, and I see that these gentlemen at the same age as you gentlemen have developed schools, systems, styles, and now they spend their days playing golf, united, right?
Yes, sir.
If that particular demographic had done what we did, which was pit them against each other, as opposed to uniting them, right? So now when we see them, they have schools where they go around, they teach seminars for each other, but they spend their days playing golf and discussing how they, they made their names coming to this era. And most of them didn't beat you guys. They made their names off of just fighting you guys and either losing or it was a close match, but they went on to be successful school owners, while the others all tried to do something separately. And then here we are now, we're talking about people losing their schools, systems that were once something, or for this instance, I'm wondering why there isn't a 2024 turtle system. Why am I not now looking at the new era of a Jesse Harris, a Trent Norman, a Kason Norman, and things of that nature? Do you understand where I'm going with my question, or do you see why I'm asking that? Like, why was it that Newark was pit against each other while these gentlemen who didn't have half of the skill set that you guys have, but they seem to have had more business success?
Maybe I should respond to that,
Yes.
Mr. Hilton. First of all, martial arts is a culture. It has its own social dynamic, its own philosophical dynamic. When there's a split, when there's not a coming together, when there's a lack of seeming brotherhood, you always focus at the leadership. The leadership is what creates the sense of direction, the design for what people are to do, the rules and regulations and obligations that they are to follow. My focus was on making these individuals, or helping them become, I don't like the word make, helping them become contributing members to the society at large. Not martial artists, but decent, law-abiding, God-fearing people. Martial arts was one of those rungs on the ladder, as it were, to achieve that. But the first thing I had to do was give them seed in order for them to attain to making themselves wonderful, caring, respectful human beings. I did not design a systemic, we call Turtle Tactics, Ninja Turtle, whatever, Turtle system. I did not design that with them opening schools. If they did that, that was fine. But my primary focus, and they will tell you this, was God, family, education, their brothers and sisters, and then themselves.
Okay.
So what you see here is a microcosm of what the martial arts are supposed to be about. We had Hispanic, we had people from Romania, we had people from England, Great Britain, we had people from other areas, different races and colors that were involved with what would become the New Jersey Martial Arts Association, and then ultimately the Universal Martial Arts Coalition. All different races, creeds, religions, and colors. That's what Turtle System, Ninja Turtle System, was about in my heart and my mind. If that responds to your question.
Yes, sir. Let's go with Trent. I'm going to unmute Trent and I'm going to ask him a couple of questions. Dr. Bowles, obviously, I'm going to keep you on because you're just the greatest, and they have to deal with that. Trent, so first thing is, you came out of the Turtle System, and you were one of the named people in the Turtle System. You were known. I wouldn't say as an enforcer, because I didn't hear anybody necessarily refer to you as an enforcer, but we do know that athletically you were one of the top fighters that came out of the system. I'll start with my first question. If you had to gauge as to who was your rival back then, who would you say was the person that would be a rival to a Trent Norman?
I didn't really have any rivals. I was just competitive wherever I went. I don't recall anyone specifically who I had rivalries with. You know, I was just a competitor. I just wanted to be good at what I was doing. So that was my outlook. You know, even when guys showed some type of animosity or they had some type of issue, but never, never at the any time. Guys was to talk about what they would do to me. If that's what you're talking about, and then once we get in the ring, it's a whole nother concept. So, you know.
All right, so Trent, let me ask you this. I wasn't around then, but from my understanding, you guys had beef, like karate beef. So Broad and Market apparently was where you guys would meet up, and depending on the school you were from, if you guys met each other there, before you guys even made it to a tournament, you guys would handle your business on that corner. Is that true?
That was, you need to talk to K-Sign about that. That wasn't me.
Mr. Norman, can I interrupt here? You
Yes.
forgot about the individual that you swept on the street and he joined the dojo because you took him down.
But that wasn't a rivalry. That was someone just made a challenge.
He didn't say it didn't say it'd be a big rivalry. It was
Yeah, I look at rivalries like someone who just hated the school or just wanted to challenge is just that. We had
So
that
basically,
all
Trent
the
is saying
time.
it wasn't a rivalry. That was his business card, or that was his advertising to school. He swept them, and boom, you got a new student.
Right. I mean, it was so many. Now if you ask me with like if we had situations where we trained in the park and we actually went to the park and we saw guys and geese that we sparred one another. We had plenty of times we did that, but it wasn't nothing that when you say rivalries, I'm looking at somebody that posed a threat. I didn't feel threatened by anyone back then. I just
Now,
let them. So
being in a system or in a school surrounded by so much talent, I'm going to ask a controversial question.
mhm.
In my school, we used to do something called my floor, which was pretty much you beat somebody that week, or you're the top dog standing that week. This was your floor. Who owned the floor of the turtle system? Whose floor was that? Who knew that when they walked through the door, whether it was fight night on a Friday or whatever day that was that you guys were training at, it was your floor and it was those guys' responsibility to come take it from you?
I say it was Jesse. Or it depends on what time too, because you go on also K-Sign. K-Sign at one point was the
Bully.
big threat.
The
And
bully.
then right, K-Sign was the one. So you had to get through him. And then at that point, K-Sign somewhat faded away, and then Jesse came up. Jesse was the one that when you hit that floor, you got to make sure you better be right. You better be up for it. So you had to make sure you pack your bags because you're gonna have a long day.
All right, so I have Jesse Harris, I got Trent Norman, and then I got Dr. Bowles. So here's the ultimate question. It's the beginning of the turtle system. I walk into the school. What is my day looking like? What does training start with? I get on the floor, I put my uniform on, we all line up. What happens first?
We warm up and we had a heck of a workout.
Now you say you warm up. So I want you to explain to me what your warm up is, because now keep in mind that coming from under Kinsler, right? We heard stories of his fighters running to the airport and coming back to the school before they started their drills. So what you guys consider to be normal is not what 2024 normal is now. So what was your warm up consisting of then, or what was the typical class for you guys?
And what I meant by warm up, we should just stretch and Then at one point, we get into the exercise phase of it, where our calisthenic workout was it was a beast.
So what are
We
we
were
looking at? We're looking
strong.
at 30, 40, 50, 500 jumping jacks. What are we looking at?
Yeah, we do like 100, just 100 jumping jacks just to warm up, you know. But we had cardio. We started cardio where you train to the music. We trained to the music back then a lot, and we had a rhythm that we developed. With that rhythm, you had to keep up. If it's 20 people in there and you was going in a circle, you had to keep up with the fastest person that was moving. So who was on, if you was going left or right or forward, you had to keep up with that pace. And that's what pushed everybody to that next level that they was trying to achieve at that point. So the workout, if you couldn't get past the workout, the sparring don't even come. The workout was vicious. And even as, the same thing, we did our katas and strength training. At one point when Masagafi was there, he used to have us running barefoot, running in the trees, running in the snow.
Chest first into the trees, right?
Yeah.
So question, if that was your regular workout, that's your regular class, right?
Oh yeah, that was right.
What does your belt promotion look like? So here we are moving from white to yellow. What does your belt promotion look like? What type of calisthenics am I looking to do to get from white to yellow?
Well, white to yellow, we didn't push everybody like that. We pushed them towards that direction, but we didn't push everybody like that because we knew everybody couldn't do it. So even though we have our hard workouts, and like I said, we be in that circle and with that bouncing around, we knew you had to step back if you couldn't maintain that pace. That person would have to step back, get their breath until they got their breath, and then they came back in. So even like you say, white to yellow, you might have to do some like 100 jumping jacks, push-ups, sit-ups, leg lifts, etc., squats. So anything, the aspect of that, we took it as, white to yellow, we didn't push you too hard. But as you went up the line, then it became much more hard on you. We push you to a point to where we want to see you grow.
Now, Dr. Bowles,
Yes.
as an educator, I have a question for you. It's been beat into our heads that there's a certain amount of time between each belt. And there's a certain amount of time from white belt to black belt. And if you don't do that time, it's almost like your belt is not respected. Right? And my question to these guys has always been, and I'm going to ask you as an educator, if my son is an exceptional student in the public school system, he's put into a class called advanced placement, AP classes, things of that nature. Why is there no advanced placement or respect for an advanced athlete or student in martial arts, where we still assume that a person learns at the same rate as everybody else? So if a person can come in and learn the curriculum within a year or 2 years, why is that black belt not respected as much as a person who it takes 4, 6, or sometimes 10 years to obtain the same thing? Is it because martial arts hasn't actually caught up to the educational system, or are we just doing this from a monetary standpoint?
That's an interesting question, Mr. Hilton. I don't think martial arts views itself as an education system. The words don't seem to apply to martial arts. It should. However,
I'm looking at errors too.
the focus is on the development of the person according to their abilities and capabilities. Everyone does not learn the same.
Okay.
Now, with that being said, if an individual can issue a front kick, my daddy, on point, with speed, with power, with focus, and another person can't, does that make it not a front kick? The effectiveness and the efficiency of it makes it a front kick.
Mm.
Think about what I'm saying. If I issue a front kick and I kick you in the stomach,
Mm-hmm.
maybe a person can't lift their leg that high, but they kick you in the groin. What's the effectiveness and the efficiency of it? If the end result is still the same, you're lying on the floor injured.
They're both the same.
So education is a process, and a process is a series of steps leading to a result. All work is a process. So if you take an individual who does not have the knowledge up front, in other words, a priori, you try to instill them into them a posteriori, in other words, after the fact, after they glean and gain. So martial arts is in a vogue. We never had shias. Now, some of my students who had larger schools had shias, and most of these brothers and sisters went to their shias. And I'm sure they had in their mind, why don't we have them? Because we don't learn. When I say we, I'm talking about people of color now. I hate to bring that up, but it's real. We don't all learn the same. We don't come out of the same kinds of familial wellnesses, as it were.
Okay.
So it's difficult for us to learn the way that everyone else learns. So it came to me as a sensei, I'm going to watch each individual. It's up to me now to focus on what they're doing, how they do it, what are their capabilities and abilities in performance. There are individuals who cannot issue Yokogeri, as well as, let's say, Mr. Norman, Mr. Harris, Mr. Graham, Mr. Powell, my son Edward. But the heart is in it. The focus is in it. It's just not as pretty. So what is education? It's something that is a seed that helps you grow spiritually, mentally, physically, socially, intellectually.
Now, how many of these systems have pushed people away because they weren't fighters, though? Because how many of these systems have pushed people away due to not being fighters? Like, we've had people that came through systems where they were really good practitioners at kata or weapons, but it always seems like it comes down to fighting. So if a person wasn't proficient in fighting, it's almost like we felt like they were watered down, or they weren't actual martial artists because they didn't excel in fighting and fighting only. So for me, when I look at the demographic in martial arts, we don't see a lot of females because we've pushed fighting so much and not katas, weapons, self-defense, breaking. That wasn't a priority. And when I speak, I'm speaking on just this area or New Jersey. When we talk about the top martial artists, it's normally spoken about due to a person's physical capabilities. But like you said, how many people might have been suffering from some type of muscle ailment or things that at the time we didn't know about? I jokingly said to someone at a tournament last weekend that something as simple as somebody getting kicked hard, and the old things that we used to push, which was jumping up and down on our heels, or maybe a person breathing in and out, and that was supposed to have fixed things that we now know are 100% wrong, that a person can have a concussion, a person can have an actual physical disability, but that doesn't prevent them from being a martial artist. How many people do you think we've pushed out of martial arts because of our mentality, where we've only pushed the physical aspect of it, meaning that you had to be able to fight, and if you couldn't fight, then you weren't a martial artist?
The broad answer to that question would be, I don't know what the other schools do, but these gentlemen know. We had individuals in the school who had spina bifida, who function in wheelchairs, who function with crutches. We kicked no one out. If they wanted to absorb and learn and absorb, then they were family. The doors were open for all kinds of people, regardless of their physical capabilities. We didn't focus on fighting. We focused on technique. Now, we were a self-defense school that modified what we did for self-defense to utilize in tournaments, because you couldn't hit somebody in the face. A fight I had with an individual back in my day, I hit him on the side of his head and his eye popped out of the socket. They pushed it back in, they put a patch over, and he continued to fight. Those were my days. We didn't have cups. We stuffed our jocks with T-shirts and things of that nature because there were kicks to the groin, punches to the groin. What I'm saying to you is the following. No one should be excluded if it's education, if it's truly education.
Now, how you said that you and Grandmaster Godfrey got together. You guys decided that you would bring your systems together, a form of unity. I guess one of my question to you is, and again, this is just me being a karate nerd, I guess. What made you? Because I know Kung Fu picks styles due to animals or things of that nature, right? Insects. You have the praying mantis, crane on a rock, and things of that nature. What made Dr. Bowles decide that the turtle was the thing for a system? Because I'm from a Shotokan background where we have a tiger, right? And we know how mystic and majestic a tiger is. Why did we go with the turtle? Something that is conceived to be slow, almost lazy, and not like maybe a snapping turtle, but just the turtle system. Why the turtle?
The turtle is an Arcleon, which is a prehistoric animal, a prehistoric turtle. It had horns and spikes on its tails and things of that nature. It's one of the few animals that survived the change in the Earth's environment. It has intelligence. Two things caused me to focus on turtle. I indicated to you I had an actual street fight when I was in Boston, and someone said, you know, you look like a turtle. Then at another tournament, I fought, and a young lady said to me, you fight like a turtle. You're spinning around and you're moving around and you're moving side to side. I've never seen that before. Those two things came to me as corroboration. And on top of that, a turtle is a very intelligent animal, very intelligent. It knows how to survive. So those are the three things that brought me to Umigami, or the turtle.
Okay, so I can't say I've ever even thought about a turtle in that nature. How do you combine a ninja and a turtle and decide that you're going to put them together? Something that's fast and something that's supposed to be elusive, and a turtle, yes, and decide we're going to put them together.
Well, first of all, Master Godfrey, as I said, was ninja karate. And I indicated to him it's going to be confusion with the ninjutsu ninja process. So I suggested to him, and he agreed, he concurred, to change the name to Ninja-Ryu Karate Do. I'm not going to tell you what the acronym means. It's an inside joke. But when I joined him, I was Turtle Tactics. I was not Ninja Turtle.
Okay.
We had a meeting at the dojo when it first opened up. Master Godfrey had about 125 black belts at that time. And I'm going back to 1971, 72, somewhere in there. Maybe you gentlemen have a better memory of it than I do. And I know there was a lot of anger towards me relative to, I said, I'm changing the name of my style to Ninja Turtle. I'd like you, Mr. Kissler, change it to Ninja Kincaid. You, Mr. Boss, change it to Ninja Kedrashi. And it created a lot of animosity initially, because I'm the new kid on the block. But the name itself was a blend from this little mind. Since I joined Master Godfrey, I was Turtle, he was Ninja, he was the higher rank. I asked him for permission to change my art to Ninja Turtle. And that the rest is what it became.
Let's bring in Mr. Goldson here. We see he's been sitting here kind of quiet. Let's bring him in. Let's have him introduce himself also.
Hello, my name is Gene Golston of the Ninja Turtle system. My martial arts career kind of started early and ended early. Started with the Ninja Turtle system back in 74, and I stayed there until the early 80s. Before I start, can I clear up an urban legend that Brother Harris brought up earlier?
Yes.
Okay, I was there when he fought Shaquille at the YMCA in East Orange, and as far as the story about the cards being switched, I was there, and I actually watched Mike Boss switch the cards, and he laughed, man. He laughed so hard, man, and I was standing right in front of him. So I hope that clears that up for you, Jess.
Thank you. I always wonder who took those cards around.
Look, y'all been giving K-Son a bad name for all these years, and it wasn't K-Son.
No, it was Mike Boss. I was there.
Want to shout out to Mike Boss though, and Mike Boss' most famous line: "Oh, you want to fight, huh?" So if you couldn't fight, you knew not to. Don't go over there by that KK system, because those guys was definitely there. K-Son, you know what? I want to apologize, man. They probably blamed you for a whole bunch of stuff you had nothing to do with, and they just threw all the blame on you. With as great as you guys were, did you guys consider yourselves great? With as much accolades as was given to you by your peers, the people in New Jersey, and how much they idolize your system, your style, and the people from it. Do you guys feel like you were, or do you think that it was just out of fear that they gave this to you? Or do you think it was actually because of your skill level?
I say both. It was out of fear and the skill level. And which one set more? I think fear. Fear. I mean, when we spar, we inflict pain on one another, so a visitor caught hell.
Dr. Bowles.
Yes, sir.
Hearing about your system and just seeing the amount of people that have logged in just after you guys gave that turtle call, as we're now going to deem it, how did your system and you guys keep so tight? Because the physical building isn't there anymore. You left the state. Everybody kind of left and went on to become their own person. Why is it that, how did you guys stay so close to each other? And again, keeping in mind that social media just came around recently. So these guys had to find a way to stay in contact prior to text messaging, someone having a cell phone on them 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. How are you guys able to still maintain that tight-knit brotherly love that you guys obviously still have to this day?
Well, it was nothing to come to my house and find a bunch of these young men and women sleeping in my living room or in my dining room or in my kitchen. We were family. We are family. Not were, we are family. This is one of the things that I wanted to build with the youngsters in the area that came to the dojo. And a lot of the kids didn't come from that area, Newark and East Orange. They came from Irvington. They came from, well, I guess down Neck is Newark. But the point is, family was the most important aspect of who we were. That's the bloodline of the future. And if you look at these young men and women, they've maintained that. So I thank God for that. Here we are, still family. It wasn't about martial arts. It wasn't about the dojo. It wasn't about the turtle system. It was about each other. It was about God and whatever came after that.
All right, go ahead, Trent. I see you raising your hand. You got to unmute yourself. Trent, you got to unmute your mic. There you go.
Yeah, God and family. That was it. We stayed together, and we just stayed connected. I just most of the time, I would always we wouldn't talk with Master Bulls in these long gaps, but we would text and we would stay in touch with one another. We would talk about boxing, different martial arts events and stuff that went on. So we just stayed in touch with one another over the years. Me, Graham, Jesse, Shot. We just stayed in touch with one another. We knew at one point we're gonna be old men, so we stay together. I mean, we just stayed together. We have good memories of what we did in the past, and sometimes we get together and just go over that. Just have a feel good moment at that point. But most of all, we just stayed as family. It's what we was taught.
Now, let me
And big respect for everybody.
Now we do remember that there was a Worlds Collide Part 2 in West Orange, and the announcement came out that Jesse Harris was going to fight a well-known NASCAR rated fighter by the name of Garth Benz. And now, again, we're going to speak from just the standpoint of hearing this and saying Jesse's been on the shelf for years. This guy has been an active fighter on NASCAR. He's been just doing his thing. Why would they put Jesse in such a bad situation or an uneven situation for him to come out here and basically show his talents against somebody who's been active and doing his thing? It's almost like it was unfair. Jesse comes out and there's a knockout at the end of all of this. Jesse, how did they talk you into this in the first place? Why did you take the fight?
Well, first of all, I was at a karate tournament, and they were telling me they was trying to create I guess something to compete with the MMA. And I know he did World Collide #1. So he asked me. I said, well, if you need to get a name on your card to help promote it, I'll be willing to fight for you. So he said, okay, Jess. At the time, Earl Brown was there. Trent, you were there. Earl Brown was there, and Earl took the fight for me and Shaquille to fight in that event. So Earl took it, him and Trent talked for a little bit, and then he came back and they said I was too heavy. But at the time, Kevin was sick. No one knew that he was sick. Then they gave me Jerry Fontanez. He called me on the phone and said, Jess, I'm going to have to knock you out. I said, I know, it's just business. All of a sudden, they got rid of him. Then they found Ben. They said, well, Jesse, we got you. But I didn't care who they got. Like I told me, it didn't make a difference to me. Our motto has been, and to go back to something you were saying about the family, and that event in my corner, which I had a gym, people in my corner, can I be in your corner? I said, no, because Master Bulls always told us our success.
You're on mute, brother. We can't hear you. You're on mute, Mr. Harris. Mr. Harris?
You're on mute, Jesse.
You're on mute, brother.
Oh, he must have hit the phone by mistake.
Mr. Harris.
Yeah. I don't think he.
You're on mute, Jesse.
paintbrush must have hit his button.
Yeah. What is that? Kay, where's your phone over there?
I don't know. That's true. So he's trying to tell Jesse on me, pushing the button.
What Mr. Hilton, can you hear me? Mr. Hilton, can you hear me? Okay, you're on mute too.
Yes, sir. I can hear you.
Okay. The gentleman that you're talking to show you their humility. Mr. Norman has not indicated that he was the New Jersey State welterweight boxing champion on 2 occasions. Mr. Harris didn't tell you, or people don't know, that Garth Benz was approximately 15 years or younger than Harris.
Trent, one of you guys got to turn down your volume or something. Y'all can't keep on muting in there. All right, go ahead, sir. I'm sorry. Dr. Bowles, you can go ahead.
Yes, show you the humility of Mr. Norman and Mr. Harris. Mr. Norman was the state welterweight Golden Glove champion for 2 years running. Mr. Harris fought Garth Benz. Benz was approximately 15 or more years younger than Mr. Harris.
Yep.
So this is another thing about these gentlemen. They've maintained. I wanted them to look like punks, because you don't want people to fear you. Because when they fear you, they will attack you clandestinely. They will attack you when you least expect it. But when they respect you, they'll come to your face. So if you notice, the students, they're not hard. They don't look hard. They don't act hard.
Now, I know we sent a bunch of questions in. We're trying to get others on the line. It looks like everybody's having some issues. You know what we're gonna try? I know this is at the last minute. Let me try to get Trent in. I know his background is kind of loud, but let me try to get Trent in. I want to try this again next week. See if we can get everybody without the background noise. Or I see that Brother Harris is over there with he's painting the Eiffel Tower and doing all types of stuff. But if we can actually all sit down and just have this conversation, because I feel like there's so many questions and answers, things that we all want to know. One of the main things that was answered was, first, why the system was named behind the turtle. While we're not going to go into the specifics, as a child growing up, we knew that there was a Donatello, a Leonardo, and things of that nature. If you were able to point out who from the turtle system represented those characters, Dr. Bowles, we would really appreciate that.
Sure. Who was the turtle that utilized nunchaku?
That was Michelangelo, I believe.
Who was the one that did the flips?
The flip.
Jesse.
That's right.
Jesse.
That's right. Each one of those individuals were the ones that were performing in Massachusetts back in 1977, 78, when I met with one of those two writers. It was either Laird or Eastman. I forget which one. And there were a bunch of questions that were presented to me relative to the logo on the back of the geese, because it was a very large logo, Ninja Turtle. Well, I thought he was just a bystander, interested. 5 years later, which I didn't know, a comic book came out, and a couple of years after that, a movie came out. The name was commandeered from us. Who is the mouse? That's me. But I wasn't small and I wasn't skinny. I did introduce him to Master Godfrey. So he probably took Master Godfrey and used me as the social dynamic, as it were. I mean, think about these turtles coming up out of the sewer.
Sewer.
They came out of the inner city. That's the
Yeah.
social dynamic. We know where it came from because you were a part of that. You grew up with it.
Yes.
It's a stolen legacy.
Now, what we have seen happen though is, and this is all I'm going to say on the topic, and I know that we can't necessarily stay too long on it, but what I will say is that they seem to have utilized martial arts strategy against all those involved in this scenario, and from what I'm seeing, it's almost a divide and conquer. From my start in martial arts till now, there has been an internal, and when I say internal, meaning the people here in New Jersey have been fighting over who started it, how it was started, who were actual members of it. And it seems like that fight has been going on so long that you guys haven't been able to focus on the real enemy or the person whom you guys actually need to go off of or go after, because it's always been that you guys are going against each other, or this narrative of who actually knows how the turtle system started, who's the actual owner, and things of that nature. Again, we do know that this is something that is still in legal limbo, and we don't want to go into too much detail here, but I know something that I would love to talk to you offline about. Moving on, Dr. Bowles, we see that you're a wealth of information, a wealth of knowledge, but you have kind of, whether it's on purpose or not, taken yourself away from martial arts. Was that on purpose, or did it just happen due to age?
Martial arts was a forum. Everything that I have done in my life has been in what I call a teaching, what people call teaching, I call sharing mode. Academically, I absorbed a lot of information. Life experience gave me a lot of information. But there was always a calling. As I indicated earlier, I was attacked by polio. And I walked out of Soho Hospital in Nutley, New Jersey. I was the first to walk out of that hospital. I had the Forrest Gump struts, the polio shoes, as they call them. And I heard a nurse say, he's going to be a minister. I didn't know what a minister was. I had no clue. But I can remember when they were giving me spinal taps almost on a daily basis, pricking my fingers for blood almost on a daily basis, that I was calling out to God. I didn't know much about God, but I walked. I walked. And as I grew, spiritually, physically, mentally, I was called into what I do now, which is help other people absorb knowledge of religions, but not become religious, become righteous. The concept is religion is not necessarily the case. Righteousness is. Righteousness is conformance to what God has asked us to do. Don't disrespect your parents. Don't steal from one another. Don't kill each other. Don't and do this. Love God with all your heart, with all your soul. So that's what happened. I did not leave martial arts. I grew away from martial arts. I could still defend myself on a de minimis basis.
I don't doubt you at all.
It's about sharing. And
Now,
now, I'm sorry, bro. Go
I
ahead.
guess my next question is that with what seems like you guys grew up together or came up with the same lineage, why did there seem to be such a disdain for Eugene Floyd? And this question isn't for you, Dr. Bowles, but so much for maybe a Kason Norman or a Trent Norman, because and I know we only have a little bit more time left. Let's talk about Worlds Collide and what happened at that particular location, because the Norman brothers were pretty much almost blamed for the outcome of what happened at Worlds Collide. So I'm going to start with Trent, and maybe he can explain. So I guess my first question is there actual beef between the Normans or the turtle system and the Eugene Floyd?
No, I think Gene held a lot of animosity. He thought it was my fault, but I think Gene lack of knowledge in regards of it was a hit the score tournament, and Gene was fighting a point. His concept was wrong, and every time Gene do something that got close to Shaquille, or he thought it was. I wasn't the only one in the. I was the center ref, but I wasn't the only one scoring.
Now, why did you guys change
I
the
mean,
referee
judging
in the middle of the ring?
because
Why did, in the middle of the match,
if
why was the referees changed?
Prentice didn't have a grip on the fighters. In other words, them guys. If you notice the first round, they was more like bare knuckle in it, and Prentice wouldn't get in there. And brother Tamir Green, at that time, he said, Trent, get in there, because if you can recall, I judged Jerry Fontenet's fight. I was there to do Jerry and brother Higgs fight.
But so, and
So when they put me in there for Shaquille's fight,
forgive my ignorance.
Floyd fight, but Floyd did not fight the right fight.
Now,
And
forgive
that's
my
what
ignorance,
happened with that.
but the question here is that if that was a boxing match or any other professional bout, you couldn't switch a referee in the middle of the event. Can we agree to that?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay.
I
Then
thought
the
it was
other
live.
part
Oh
is
yeah.
that
No doubt about it.
you're
It was
saying
live.
that there were a particular set of rules that weren't being followed.
Mhm.
What instructions were given to both fighters? And I'm asking you now as the center ref, but you couldn't have been there if you were a last minute placement, because normally before a fight, that head referee or judge will go in and speak to fighters just like they do in boxing. Hey, this is what I'm
Right.
looking for. These are the rules, et cetera, et cetera. So for you to say Floyd wasn't following a certain rule set, how do we know that those rules were given to Floyd prior to the fight starting?
We had a meeting prior to the fight. It was like a week before, I'm not sure exactly, where they actually went over the rules and hit the score. I was a promoter of Hit the Score.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody knew what Hit the Score was. In other words, you just couldn't do a flimsy point. You had to have a solid punch. And Gene understood that. Shane understood. Shane was the promoter. Shane knew it was Hit the Score. So when we all sat there and had that big meet, everybody understood what Hit the Score was. And like I said, I didn't think Gene had the concept in mind. He had a point tournament mindset.
My other question is this. Do you feel like the appointment of a Trent Norman, a Kason Norman, or anyone from New Jersey, now let's Monday morning quarterback it. Do you feel like that was the right appointment to have people from New Jersey who, whether we want to admit it or not, everybody had a bias in that situation because people knew who they wanted to win or had an idea of who it is that they thought should have won? Why didn't we bring in people from the outside who didn't have a dog in that fight? You guys grew up with both practitioners.
Right. And I think that's why Brother Tamir felt comfortable with me, because he knew I knew both of them. I had high regards for both of them and a whole lot of respect for both of them. It was just the point that Gene, go back to what I was saying, Gene didn't understand the concept, or he didn't have it down pat. I mean, he didn't. He fought like a point fighter. Hit the Score was much more rugged. It was more like a bare knuckle, old school, bare knuckle Japanese tournament. You had to come with it. You had to bring it.
The reason why, now I've spoken to Shane and I've spoken to Tamir, and mm-hmm. I have, if you look at my page, you'll see that their interviews are up there, and Tamir speaks on this, and he said one of the things he was most concerned with was he did not want anybody to be knocked out at this event because
Right.
the boxing commissioner was there. And had it turned into a situation where someone was knocked out, there would be sanctions, fines, and things of that nature. So again, is this a situation where it seems like no one understood the rule set, because you have judges looking for one particular thing, you have fighters doing something else, and it just seems to me that everybody was given different instructions, because if the fighters are told, hey, you can't knock each other out because you have the boxing commission here and we're not sanctioned under that, you have judges saying, hey, you have to hit the score and hit as hard as you can. How is it that we get to this point where we're now saying that this is pretty much like bare knuckles fighting? Because to me, bare knuckles means that you're going to hit someone until someone is unconscious. Am I mistaken in that?
Well, if that happens, fighter can go down. You give him an 8 count. You give a fighter an 8 count, just like similar to boxing rules. And that fighter can continue, then he can continue. Now the situation with Larry, I don't know when that took place, but I know a week before we had a meeting, and we had a big meeting where all the fighters was there, and they understood. If you go back to some of the other fights, you go back to Golf fight with Jesse, that was a hit to score fight. So it's not like nobody understood what was going on. Now the dynamics might have changed somewhere prior to the fight went on, but no one explained that to me about Larry Hazard or anyone else. So it could have been some confusion there, but Gene understood how that fight was going to go. That fight was scheduled for a hit to score.
Now, we saw that there was a lot of commotion both inside the ring and outside the ring. As the center ref and as the person who was responsible for making sure that everybody was safe, looking back on that fight now, do you feel like you did an adequate job? Do you feel like there was something you could have done differently? Or if you could have done anything differently, what would it have been?
Oh, I wish I'd have had the fight from the start. If I had it from the start, then I would have had more of an understanding how that fight was supposed to go. If there's a mindset and somebody said, well, we're not doing hit the score, we're doing points. No one said that to me. So I wish I'd had the fight from the start when they gave me the Jerry and Higgs fight like the week before. I knew I was going to ref their fight.
Now, with that fight was definitely not evenly matched at that time.
Oh yeah, it was. Oh Lord. Oh, I don't want to. No comments.
Do you feel like, as the center ref, again, was there a particular point in time where you should have called the fight or realized that one fighter wasn't at the best, wasn't doing the best that they could, and maybe put that fight to bed, put the fight out of his misery, or stopping it before something bad could have happened?
Well, once again, it's hit the score. It's up. It wasn't to the point where Higgs was getting mutilated.
The score was 72-1, I believe.
Yeah, he was just being. Yeah, he was just getting outscored. Jerry really wasn't putting a lot of power, like really trying to hurt him. I didn't take it as that. Jerry, I thought Jerry did pretty good. He controlled some of his stuff. He would just touch him.
So where was the mercy rule in that fight? Where was the to say a person has 70 points to nothing? There was no way for Higgs to have come back.
No way. There was no way.
Why didn't we stop the fight at that point to say that it's outside of the realm of it's not a fight anymore at this point? Even if you added another round and Higgs was able to score 10 points, 20 points, it would have been impossible for him to score 72 points to come back to even make it a tie match. Why wasn't there a mercy rule in that fight?
It was up to, I think it's up to Higgs to make that decision on his own. Now, if I saw where Higgs was getting murdered, then I would have stopped the fight. Where he was just being the power just too much. I thought that was too much for him, and he wanted to quit or something like that. I would have stopped the fight at that point, or it looked like he wanted to quit. But he wanted to fight. He wanted to fight. Just like Gene, he wanted to fight, even though Gene was being outpowered at times. But Gene fought, to me, that pressure Gene was under, Gene still, in my eyes, did pretty good. If you go back and watch that fight, Gene still did pretty good. He overcame a whole lot of pressure, and
would you say
fought.
that you were happy with the way that the fight turned out, or do you still feel? Because in my mind, walking out of there and years later, I honestly still feel like that it's still unanswered as to what that fight could have been, because there seem to be so many outside forces as opposed to the two combatants in the middle of the ring just having the final say, so to say these two were the best, or this one's going to be the best that day. It was shrouded in so much controversy.
That's because I just think in my the way I see it, the way I think Gene just needed an out, a reason to be out. So I was to blame for that fight. I don't know why, but I was to blame for that fight because it didn't go the way he wanted it to go. And I didn't understand why, he was looking for an excuse. But he knew, in my mind, he knew, because all this was discussed. It didn't just say, well, we're going to do a hit the score and nobody knew the rules. We had rules and everything. We had the whole layout.
Dr. Bowles, you were going to say something?
All the fighters was there, and they did something like advertisement. They wanted to do a commercial. They did all that stuff. Shane kind of like hyped this thing up, and it was, people coming to see a hit the score. They want to see hit the score. They don't want to see nobody do points.
Dr. Bowles, you were going to say?
When we look at that match, it was a kick that put Mr. Floyd down, was it not?
Yeah. Yes, sir. A spinning back kick.
If you talk to any one of these gentlemen and ladies, they've never been harmed by a head punch or kick. Mr. Norman, do you remember going into the corner, covering your head with boxing gloves and letting the entire school come at you and hit you?
Oh, yeah.
You remember those days? Oh, yeah. It's where preparation meets efficiency. Even though we went to point tournaments, we always fought as if it was full contact. Even though full contact only occurred periodically in some of the tournaments that we went to. Fred Hamilton, one of my best friends, used to give those full contact tournaments. These gentlemen and ladies were prepared for that. That was the difference between the Ninja and the Ninja Turtle. Between the Ninja and the Turtle, preparation for any kind of circumstance that's going to come to you. Now, can we be aware of all of the circumstances? No. But if you fail to prepare, you're preparing to fail.
Yes, sir. Again, I do know that I see that we have a lot of people logged in, and we would love to be able to talk to everybody. This was our first trial show here. We know that the Norman brothers can't be in the same room together while we're doing this. And we would love to be able to talk to everybody while we have their undivided attention. So what we're going to do is I am going to send some more questions. I would love to be able to do this next week if everybody's available. For those that have something to say, and I know that I'm going through Brother Trent to organize those. I see that Brother Jesse didn't get a chance to log in, and I believe Brother Graham was trying to log in, but he was having some difficulties. I know your son was on. We tried to bring him on, but let's see if we can unmute him here. He has to unmute himself. There he is.
How you doing?
How you doing?
All right.
Good.
All right.
Good. So I know he was waiting patiently there in the back room, and our brother Dorian is here also. But for those that we couldn't get onto, I want to apologize. We do want to bring everybody again on next week and just continue to talk about it because there's so much more, and I know we couldn't fit it all in this short period of time. I want to thank you guys for your time, for speaking to me. We definitely want to speak to the bully Kason over there. We see him being patient, but we so far what we've learned about the turtle system, and to me, what there's more that you guys have to offer. I look forward to speaking to you guys again. I know we're going to touch more on the When Worlds Collide, but that's not the only thing that the turtle system is known for. Dr. Bowles has accomplished so much more and raised so many great men who just happen to be martial artists, but men. And I think he should be commended for that. Dr. Bowles, you're somebody that I do look up to. I talk to my students about these great martial artists in New Jersey, and you're a person that I try to let them know about. It would be great if one day we can have you come and speak to them yourselves, because one of the things I say to them is that I can always tell you how great a person is, but for them to have that experience for themselves and for them to be able to explain to others how great you are, because a hero to me may not be a hero to them. But shameless plug, I want to point out that Larry Thunderfoot Curtin will be doing a seminar on Wednesday, this coming Wednesday on the 28th at the school. He'll be coming and speaking to the students. But again, I want to look forward to speaking to the turtle system next Sunday. And I'm going to see if I can get, you guys call him Peanut. He's still grand to me. So I haven't gotten that familiar with calling him Peanut yet. But having my grand come on and us sharing some stories. Hopefully we will work out the kinks and the bugs so that the Norman brothers know they can't be in the same room with two phones while trying to talk to me. But again, I appreciate it. I'm gonna allow you guys to say your byes, and Brother Bowles, who didn't get a chance to speak, I'll let him say bye. And to Dr. Bowles, once again, thank you, and I look forward to speaking to you guys next week.
Mr. Hilton, I want to make one thing perfectly clear. Most of the gentlemen have been with me approximately 50 years. Not necessarily in martial arts, but spirit-wise, love-wise, and care and respect-wise. They're all my sons and my daughters, except for my wife. So I just want to make that clear. You know, there's a love here that does not die. That's it.
Let me see if I can unmute Brother Trent.
I'm back.
Yes. So we'll see you next week. We'll have some more stories. I'm definitely going to send you the hard-hitting questions that I have about whether it's we'll finish our conversation about Worlds Collide, Jesse. We definitely want to talk to Kason, get some of his history and the rest of the turtle system. And once again, I want to just thank you guys for everything. We're going to sign out now, but we will see you next Sunday for part 2 to our New Jersey martial arts history.
Mr. Hilton, can I provide my I'm on Zoom.
Yes, sir.
And I wanted to provide the 644-044-8246, and password is 2963, isn't it? 2693.
2693.
Thank you. Okay, I'm out there. This is on Zoom. So if you want to come, I'm out there Mondays, Wednesdays, and Saturdays. Or we can just meet together at any time that you gentlemen want to get together. But I can send you this information. I'll send it to Mr. Hilton. We can discuss anything you want to discuss. We can look at life. We can even talk about scripture, whatever it is that you necessitate in your lives. I'm still here, so use me. Love you to life.
And that Zoom link is going to be Zoom 644-044-8246. That's
Yes.
644-044-8246. And the
Is it
password
8246?
is 2693-2693. All right. And
My wife's telling me that might not be the 8. Is it 8246 or 8264? Oh man. That's all right. Just text me. You guys have my text number. I'll give it to you.
And what I want to, whether you're part of the turtle system or not, I want to just encourage you guys to utilize that that number. So it looks like it's going to be 252-412-8812. Utilize that number. A lot of times, especially when we talked about Shaquille today, it seemed that a lot of people loved Shaquille, and we use that in the past tense, but it seems like people waited until his funeral to come in and speak about how much they love somebody or appreciate somebody. Dr. Bose is here now. Please don't wait until you're unable to contact him via the phone to talk about how much you love, care for him, or wish that you could communicate with him. Let's sit at the feet of our elders and learn. He has forgotten more than a lot of us think we know. So Dr. Bose, I'll definitely be making use of that Zoom number. I'm going to call you directly and talk to you because
not that number. That's my text number. Call me.
No, I'm going to call you with the number I have.
Okay.
And speak to you. But Brother Trent, now that I have your number, I'm going to be reaching out to you. Kason, you live around the corner from me, so I'm going to just come knock on your door. But again, I really appreciate the turtle system. I appreciate you guys for watching, whether you're watching live now or you're going to be rewatching this at some particular point in time. I've reposted it on my page, and we'll see the turtle system next week.
So we'll be able to observe it on.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir. I'll send you the link.
Okay. Thank you. Appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
All right. All right.
Yes, indeed. All right. Incredible. How are you gentlemen doing? Good to see your faces in the places. Mr. Norman, Kason, how you doing, brother?
Yeah, we hanging in there.
Oh man, bring back a lot of memories, gentlemen.
Oh
Lots
man, did it.
For people like me
Yeah,
at my age, that's what we have basically is memories.
I was
Indeed.
Yeah,
Say it
that's
again.
Eddie.
Yeah, man.
That's
What's
Eddie.
up, man? How you?
Yeah, I was.
What's going on?
Oh yeah, we was talking about trying to get together sometime next year. This year, go down there and see Master Bowles.
Come on down.
Yo, that'd be cool. That'd be cool.
Yes, sir.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, man.
That'd be great.
Help me. Can you turn it up?
K-Son, you gotta unmute.
Turn
You
your
on mute,
phone off
Lisa?
of mute. K-Son, turn your phone up.
Just slightly.
Nah, you still muted.
You got your phone on mute?
He's on mute.
You're on
Nah,
mute, brother?
he's muted in the app.
Yeah.
Can y'all hear me?
I can hear you, Eddie.
Yeah, he's muted in the app.
Oh.
Oh, you muted in the app. He ain't gonna be able to hear you. Talk through shot phone. Can you?
Was that
Yeah,
Mr.
you
Lewis?
got yeah, James Shot Lewis.
Oh my gosh. How you doing, brother?
Oh snap!
This is incredible. This is incredible.
K-Son, disconnect from the line and just talk through shot phone.
Yeah, Bose, I gotta call you.
Can you hear him?
Yeah, man.
Pastor Bowles?
I can hear
You
you.
hear K-Son? Did you hear K-Son?
Say, It's very low. Very, very low.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Good guy.
Not good. It's very low, brother. I
That's
can
because
hear
you're
you.
probably sitting on top of shot. Okay, just hang up. Just hang. Disconnect. It's a that red X at the bottom.
Are you gentlemen in the same room?
Yes.
Oh, okay. So they
Okay,
can use
he's
your
on. Yeah, he's using.
They can use your phone.
Yeah, that's wild.
Can you hear him? He talking through shot phone now.
No. Shot's not on. Can he come over to your phone?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to come off my earbud.
Tell him a call. So I need to
Oh my gosh. This is incredible.
Yeah, he just